Octopussy is a 1983 spy film and the 13th film in the James Bond series produced by Eon Productions. It is the sixth to star Roger Moore as the MI6 agent James Bond. It is directed by John Glen and the screenplay was written by George MacDonald Fraser, Richard Maibaum and Michael G. The film's title taken from a short story in Ian Fleming's 1966 short story collection Octopussy and the Living Daylights, although the film's plot is mostly original. It does, however, contain a scene adapted from Ian Fleming's story The Property of a Lady, included in the 1967 and late editions of Octopussy and the Living Daylights. The events of the short story Octopussy form part of the title character's background and are recounted by her in the film. In Octopussy, Bond is assigned the task of following megalomaniacal Soviet general Stephen Berkoff, who is stealing jewellery and art objects from the Kremlin art repository. This leads Bond to a wealthy exiled Afghan prince, Kamal Khan, played by Jourdan, and his associate Octopussy, Maud Adams, and the discovery of a plot to force a disarmament in the Western Europe with the use of a nuclear weapon. Octopussy was produced by Albert Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson. It was released 4 months before the non-Eon Bond film Never Say Never Again. The film earned $187.5 million against its $27.5 million budget and received mixed reviews. Praise was directed towards the action sequences and locations, with the plot and humour being targeted for criticism. Maud Adams' portrayal of the title character also drew polarised responses. The cast includes Roger Moore as James Bond, MI6 007. Maud Adams as Octopussy, a jewel smuggler and wealthy businesswoman. Adams previously played a different character in The Man with the Golden Gun. Jourdan as Kamal Khan, an exiled Afghan prince. Christina Wayborn as Makta, a trusted subordinate and henchwoman to Octopussy and Khan. Kabir Bedi as Gobinda, Khan's powerful bodyguard. Stephen Berkoff as General Orlov, a renegade Soviet general who works with Khan to bomb a US airbase. Vijay Amritaj as Vijay, Bond's MI6 ally in India. This was Amritaj's acting debut after gaining prominence as a tennis player. David Mayer and Anthony Mayer as Mishka and Grishka, credited as Twin 1 and Twin 2, Orlov's knife-throwing henchmen were performers in the Octopussy circus. Robert Brown as M, head of the British Secret Service and Bond's superior. And Desmond Llewellyn as Q, MI6's gadget designer. Llewellyn was disappointed that he was unable to travel to India since his scenes were filmed at Pinewood Studios. Following For Your Eyes Only, Roger Moore had expressed a desire to retire from the role of James Bond. His original contract had been for 3 films, which had been fulfilled, but Moore's following 2 films, Moonraker and For Your Eyes Only, were negotiated on a film-by-film basis. Given his reluctance to return for Octopussy, the producers engaged in a semi-public quest for the next Bond, with Timothy Dalton and Lewis Collins being suggested as a replacement, and screen tests carried out with Michael Billington, Oliver Tobias, and American actor James Brolin. However, when rival Bond production Never Say Never Again was announced, the producers persuaded Moore to continue his role, as they thought the established actor would fare better against former Bond, Sean Connery. It had been reported that Brolin had been hired and was actually on the point of moving to London to begin work on Octopussy at the time, while Broccoli refused to dispute Tobias's public statements that he was about to be cast as Bond. Sybil Danning was announced in Preview magazine in 1982 as being Octopussy, but was never actually cast, later explaining that Albert R. Broccoli felt her personality was too strong. Faye Dunaway was deemed too expensive. Barbara Carrera said she turned down the role in order to play Fatima Blush in the competing Bond film Never Say Never Again. Casting director Jane Jenkins revealed that the Bond producers told her that they wanted a South Asian actress to play Octopussy, so she looked at the only 2 Indians in predominantly white Hollywood, Persis Kabata and Susie Kolo. Afterward, she auditioned white actresses like Barbara Parkins and Kathleen Turner, who she felt could pass for Indian. Finally, Broccoli announced to her that they would cast Swedish-born Maud Adams, who had been a Bond girl in The Man with the Golden Gun and had been recently used by Eon to screen test potential new Bonds. To acknowledge the nationality, Adams had her hair darkened, and a few lines were added about how she was raised by an Indian family. A different plotline, with Adams' British father exposed as a traitor, was used instead. The role of Magda went to another Swedish actress, Christina Wayborn, who the producers first noticed playing Greta Garbo in the miniseries The Silent Lovers. Pam Grier turned down an offer to play a Bond girl in the film. Octopussy is also the first film to feature Robert Brown as M, following the death of Bernard Lee in 1981. Brown was recommended by Moore, who had known him since they both worked on the series Ivanhoe. Brown had previously played Admiral Hargreaves in The Spy Who Loved Me 6 years earlier. The first actor to be cast in the film was Vijay Amritaj, a popular professional tennis player whom Broccoli met watching the championships in Wimbledon. His character, Bond's ally in India, was named Vijay and used a tennis racket as a weapon. For the villains, Broccoli brought his friend Louis Jourdan as Kamal Khan, while his daughter Barbara suggested Stephen Berkoff for Orlov after having seen him perform in his own play Greek in Los Angeles. After being absent for Your Eyes Only due to tax problems, John Barry returned to do his 9th James Bond score. He would also write the opening theme, All Time High, with lyricist Tim Rice. All Time High, sung by Rita Coolidge, is one of 7 musical themes in the James Bond series, whose song titles do not refer to the film's title. All-time high spent 4 weeks at number 1 in the United States adult contemporary singles chart and reached number 36 on the Billboard Hot 100. Now, the plot for Octopussy is convoluted and lacks cohesiveness. It tries to juggle multiple storylines, including smuggling operations, stolen artifacts, and nuclear threats, but ends up feeling cluttered and confusing. The narrative struggles to maintain focus, resulting in a muddled and disjointed storyline that fails to engage or captivate the audience. Roger Moore's portrayal of James Bond in Octopussy feels completely tired and uninspired. By this point in his tenure as Bond, Moore's performance had become formulaic and predictable. He lacks the depth and intensity the character deserves and comes across more like a comedian, dressing up as a clown, a gorilla outfit, and of course doing a Tarzan yell during a jungle chase. Not to mention Stephen Berkoff's performance here as General Orlov. The performance is offensively bad and one of the worst Bond villains ever. Maud Adams as Octopussy offers little more than a one-dimensional performance, failing to convey the enigmatic allure that the character is supposed to possess. While Octopussy attempts to deliver the trademark Bond action sequences, they feel lackluster and unremarkable. The film relies heavily on gimmick moments, such as Bond using a crocodile-infested pool as an escape route, which comes across as forced and unrealistic. The action lacks the excitement and tension that fans have come to expect from the Bond franchise, resulting in a series of forgettable set pieces. The film also suffers from poor pacing, with sluggish moments that drag on and hamper the overall flow. The convoluted plot and lack of narrative focus contribute to pacing issues, making the film feel unnecessarily long and tedious. At times it becomes difficult to stay engaged with the story, as it meanders without a clear sense of direction or purpose. While Octopussy features exotic locations and grand sets, the cinematography and production design fail to make a lasting impact. The visuals lack the wow factor and the attention to detail that have characterized other Bond films. The overall aesthetic feels uninspired, with little creativity or innovation on display. Even John Barry's score here is unremarkable and fails to leave a lasting impression. The incorporation of the iconic James Bond theme feels tired and overused, lacking the freshness and excitement it once brought to the franchise. And the main theme song, All Time High by Rita Coolidge, is rather forgettable and fails to leave a lasting impact compared to other songs in the iconic franchise. In conclusion, Octopussy is a very disappointing entry in the James Bond series. From its convoluted plot and lackluster performances to its uninspired action sequences and subpar visuals, the film falls short in almost every aspect. It fails to capture the essence of what makes Bond films great, resulting in a forgettable and underwhelming cinematic experience. For me, it's one of the poorest Bond films ever made, so therefore Octopussy gets a 3 out of 10.